Hello, I'm David Bowman with the Three Rivers Literacy Initiative of the Three Rivers Education Foundation. We're going to take a few moments and talk about vocabulary instruction. What do we mean by vocabulary? What do we want kids to learn? What do good readers do when they encounter new words? And what do we know about effective and ineffective instruction of vocabulary? So all of that is what we're going to take a look at here. So first of all, when we're talking about vocabulary, here's what we want students to be able to do. Vocabulary is basically an understanding of what words mean through decoding and discovery, being able to find new words in text and then use decoding or discovery to develop a sense of what those words mean and being able to apply that understanding to help us comprehend a passage. So when strong readers encounter new words, the very first thing that they do is they decode it. They try to sound it out. Maybe the word looks unfamiliar when it's written, but if they can say it and recognize it, then they can say, oh, that's what it means, and they can apply that to the passage and keep going. But if that breaks down, if that fails, then we have to go through something called a discovery process, and it looks like this. So decoding fails. So then the next thing that good readers do is look at the word parts, prefixes, suffixes, root words. Is there anything in there that you recognize that will help you have an idea of what the word means? And if so, then you put all those parts back together, decoding, and off you go. If that fails, then the next thing that strong readers do is they look at the overall passage. Are there clues? Are there sentences? Are there words? Can we get an idea of what the writer is trying to communicate here that will help us to understand what that word means? And if we think we've got an idea from the context what it means, then we go back to the word parts and say, does that fit what I know about the parts? And if so, put them all together, and off we go again. Now, if that fails, then the last step of the process is given definition. We go ask the Google. We ask Mr. Webster, what does this word mean? And in many cases, there might be multiple definitions. So we have to go backwards and say, does this definition fit what I understand about this passage already, the context? And does it then give me clues about the parts of the words which I can put together in a decoding process, and off I go again. One thing that readers don't do, good readers don't do, is they don't just jump to the given definition. They don't just jump to context clues, then off you go again. They work through the process and then backwards again. So if they've gotten all the way to the part where they have to go and get a definition, then they go backwards to context clues and see, does it fit what I already understand about this? Then they go backwards to the word analysis, the word parts, and say, does it fit what I already know about the parts of the words? Can I put them all together? And then off I go again. So we go deeper into the process, and then we go backwards through the process. And that is overall the discovery process. The reason why it's important is this. If we were to teach kids 5 words, 20 words, 50 words a week, we would never be able to teach them all the words that they're going to encounter in text. So we have to teach them a process of what they can do to learn those words themselves. We have to teach not only discrete meanings, this word means this thing, but we have to teach them how to learn new words, the discovery process. Well, there are 2 approaches to this. There's an incidental approach and a direct instruction approach, and both of them are valuable, and both of them have benefits for kids. So with the incidental approach, this simply means we're reading along happily through this passage, and then boom, we stop on an unfamiliar word. It's like, whoa, we don't know what that means. So we just stumble across a word, we stop, we study it, and then we go back and we reread the passage to see how it's used and contributes to comprehension of the overall passage. The direct instruction process is kind of similar, except with direct instruction, before we start reading through the passage, before we start studying the text, we're going to pre-select the words that will be new to us. We're going to pre-select the words to study before we start studying the passage as a whole. Now, maybe you select the words, or maybe the students themselves select the words, kind of, just skim through, find words that are unfamiliar. We're going to study them. We're going to learn some things about them, and then we're going to study the overall passage. Because this way, if we know what the words mean or have an idea about their meaning before we study the passage, our comprehension of the passage is going to go up dramatically. So both are important, and we're going to use one or the other because frankly we're always going to find new words, and we can always look ahead and see what words are going to be unfamiliar. So your job, it really has 4 parts. Reuse, which means when you have studied words with kids, keep using them and use them many different times. We're trying to teach kids a pattern, a mental pattern of what those words mean and how they're used. So that becomes your job because you're the one who knows what those words mean, and how they're used. So reuse them. Also, because words can be used in different ways, you need to use them in multiple contexts, and that's what we call restructuring. Same word used in a lot of different ways, and it helps kids to develop a very broad, robust sense of how this word is used, what it means, and what kinds of messages we can communicate with it. Review means don't just study it once and then never study it again. Review means to keep studying it multiple times over time. And then to reapply, find lots of texts that use that word, and let kids keep on encountering those words within text. So keep applying it to comprehension of a passage. So there are some strategies that will help do this. And the first is study and apply. And it's got an asterisk because it is a very strong, highly recommended strategy. And that is the direct instruction approach, which is study the words first and then apply them to passage. But another good one is substitution. Okay, this word is not familiar to you. This word means about the same thing, and you already know this word. So when you see this word, substitute this word. And that'll give you a better understanding of the passage. Writing gives kids a chance to practice using the words. Obviously, we want them to use them in discussion. We're going to tell them use these words. But writing gives them a good opportunity to do that as well. And any kind of self-defining tasks, can the students explain what it means? Can they explain it to you? Can they explain it to other students? Graphic organizers are a good way for them to collect lots of information about a word, and I'll show you an example. But frankly, read lots of passages that have the word and use it a lot when you're talking. Read and talk. The last thing you see down there, teacher's word list, is in parentheses because this isn't really an instructional strategy for students. It's not really an activity. A lot of teachers have word walls. Here are words we've studied, and over there on the wall is this nice, beautiful list of all those words. Well, from an instructional standpoint, it's pretty low impact. Just seeing the words on a wall doesn't tell us much about what those words mean or how they are used, although it might remind us about spelling or something like that. The real value of the word wall is the teacher's use. As a reminder for the teacher that these are words you need to keep using and keep finding in text. You're the role model. You're the one that knows the word meanings. So here's a list of words you need to remember to keep using over and over again. So that word wall is really for you. Now, here's an example of a graphic organizer. There's lots of different types, but you're going to want to find many similar components. How is it used in text? What are similar words, substitution words? What are opposite words? What is the dictionary definition? What are other ways the word is used? And what do the parts mean within the word? So this is just sort of one example of what it might look like with all of those various components in it. Now on the flip side, what doesn't work? Well, obviously, any kind of single study, single use of the word, or short term use is not going to help students to develop the patterns they need for being able to use these words fluidly. Sustained silent reading is not good for vocabulary. Frankly, most times when struggling readers encounter a new word in text, they just keep going. So there's no instruction there. Oral reading, oral reading is great for fluency, and it's very good for phonics and to some degree for comprehension as well, but it doesn't really do much as far as helping kids to understanding their meanings of the words. Computerized instruction, also the same thing. Computerized instruction is generally going to fall into that single or short-term use of the words, and it doesn't help kids to learn that discovery process that they're going to need. So that one's also out. Well, things to teach it with. Obviously, you're going to teach vocabulary with phonics because there's that whole decoding process. Sound it out. Look at the individual parts of the words. It's obviously going to be combined with comprehension because, frankly, once we know what the words mean, how does that contribute to an overall understanding of a passage? And because words can be used in many different ways in different contexts, we're also going to combine it with oral language development. So the last thing that really needs to be said is thank you. The work that you're doing as a reading tutor is very important to helping these students become happy and successful in their future lives. So from all of us at the Three Rivers Education Foundation to you, thank you very much. Again, I'm David Bowman. Have a great day.